I thought I'd come and talk to you today about how research rabbit holes can actually save you. Or are they just a major distraction from what you really need to be looking at? The minute it's the pressure of starting a book, and I have a few thoughts about that. Hi, my name's Leanne Schuler. I'm an artist and a writer, and today, the second episode of the Writerly Whispers, we are going to look at one of the reasons why it has been so difficult for me to start. Now, I come from a Regency romance background, and those readers know their stuff. They are so detail oriented. So it became pretty quickly a thing that I needed to know just as much as they did. And I would go to conferences, pore over non-fiction books, so I didn't make a single misstep, which is not to say that didn't happen. Pretty sure it did. But I did my best. If you're writing historical or historical adjacent, knowing the time period, the culture, and the mores is so important to creating a story that's believable. Even with shape-shifting sea dragons, I have to make that believable to you too. But is there such a thing as too much research? Did I over-research? Please read Celine's Vow, which is currently on Substack, and let me know. It's coming out in 7 installments. The first 1 or 2 should be out by the time you're seeing this. Did you really need to know how valets were trained and to iron cravats? Probably not. But it made for a delightful interlude with our bemused hero and our very determined heroine. I had to cut a lot of research out of that in order to make it still readable, and I'm not sure actually I cut enough. So the answer to that question is yes, you can over-research and you can over-insert it into your book. Regardless of which project I picked to be my next novel, it requires research. The first one is the one that I did ultimately go with, an Arthurian prequel to the current series, so it involves some shape-shifting sea dragons, and it is a project that I started long ago. More about that in a minute. Or I could indulge in a Sheila-era Korean fantasy romance, which would be pure indulgence and probably appropriation, but anyway. I've talked previously about how life has been lifing. It slowed down finishing these, which I have fortunately got done. And I really did not plan to start the next novel now in the month of April. I was going to wait till after my trip in South Korea in late April, early May. But unfortunately, I had to cancel that trip due to life being lifey. And I really wanted to write that Sheila era, possibly also a sea dragon romance. But first, I needed to return to Gyeongju to research and take in the vibes of that magical ancient town. Last year, I got to visit it twice. Once as part of a cruise we were on, and then the second time as part of a bus tour of various K-drama sites. And I wanted just to imagine soak in the vibes and imagine it and see if the story actually has any legs. I mean, never mind that I already bought props. Well, because they can't go to Gyeongju and do that vibe research, we've set the Sheila project aside for another year, and we're going to work on this Arthurian prequel second chance romance. Now, in the last year, there have been several times while writing book 4 that I really wanted to set that project down and pick up this Arthurian one. And I have actually mapped out a chunk of the plot, which I do need to redo, having looked at it during that time period. So it has been niggling at me. So currently, I am refreshing my memory on post-Roman Britain, and I realized that I knew next to nothing about Cornwall, where most of this is probably going to be set. And there was a question recently on Substack by another author, and I'll link to her article below, and it got me wondering, what am I afraid of that I'm continuing to research instead of just starting writing? Well, the first thing is actually, it's not fear, it's life circumstances. I need time to sit down and put a few thoughts together. At the moment, today accepted, It's been very drop everything and go do something. So I haven't actually had that spaciousness to let things soak in, to really flesh things out. But there is fear involved. In fact, a former writer me started this novel almost 20 years ago. I was trad published with 5 books and 1 novella under my belt, under 2 different names. Then my editor left the publishing house and left me without a champion. Well, I thought, at least this is how I remember it. Well, let me write the book I've always wanted to write. This Arthurian prequel, that was that book. There was no shape-shifting sea dragons. It's pure historical. Now, I grew up on a particular kind of Arthur. I may have mentioned this before on my Substack. I'll link to that below as well. I turned my nose up at Geoffrey and Mallory. High medieval had no place in post-Roman Britain. From the first time I discovered the TV series Arthur of the Britons, I wrote or imagined an Arthurian epic, and I have lived with this tale for over 40 years, and I read one Arthurian epic after another. Stephen Lawhead, Jack White, Rosemary Sutcliffe, and then the Tristan and Isolde movie came out and made me ask, what happened after Tristan and Isolde? And, I've been looking into the legend, the origins of the legend. Back then, I wrote a partial, 3 chapters, a synopsis, and a cover letter, as you did back in the day. I don't know what people are doing now, because I'm not interested in trade publishing. But back in the day, that's what you did. Oh, I feel so old saying that. And I got nary a bite from anyone. Nobody, not the current house I had my last publishing contract with, no agent, nothing. And I gave up writing because nobody wanted this book, and it was a book of my heart. And I gave up writing because I realized in the traditional publishing world that even if I got this book accepted, I would have to reinvent my author persona for a 3rd time. Because my sales had not been that great. I made small amounts of royalties, so I made back my advance. But, I'm a decent writer, but I'm not a bestseller. And I'm wondering if maybe that failure is why I haven't started writing it yet. Aside from the very real lifing stuff. Because 20 years ago, I poured myself into that story and a world that I've loved since my early teens. It predates my Regency obsession. And it was the project that I could write how I wanted to write. And it failed, and I failed. That's how I felt. Okay, so maybe the publishing world wasn't really ready for a Dark Ages romance. I mean, it's a period very rarely tackled in the romance industry, let alone a second chance romance, which I'm not even sure was a thing 20 years ago. But those rejections hurt enough that I stopped writing for 15 years. I walked away. I decided, well, I've been published, I achieved that goal. Why should I keep beating myself up and turning myself into something that I'm not in order to keep publishing when the stuff that I wanted to write was not marketable, or perhaps I wasn't good enough, let's be honest. I took up other forms of creativity, but I didn't write. Today, I tell myself that the ground has changed. I'm no longer seeking validation from agents or editors. This isn't work for me or providing income. This is play. I am doing what I wanted to do, telling the stories that I've wanted to tell. This is me writing because I love to write. These are the stories I want to hear. This is me writing because I love this story. So here's another fear holding me back. Having written it, will I let go of this story like I have with the others that I've already told? This story has been a comfort blanket, a story I've told and retold to myself. Obviously it shifts over the many, many years, like 40 years. I'm not sure I could ever release this story even once it's been written. Here's another fear. Can I do this story justice? More and more research is coming out about post-Roman, early medieval Britain, and not all of it is wild suppositions about who King Arthur really was. There's still a lot of they probably did this, which I feel gives me some leeway. But what if post-Roman history fans are as vehement about how things were as Regency readers are? Will I get cancelled for having the wrong detail? Am I officially spiraling? Yes. Yeah, I am. But this book, this Arthurian prequel, is my precious baby. The first 4 books that I have written over the last 3 years have been my way back into writing. I've been playing, having fun with tropes. But this one, I don't want to get it wrong. Even though it's a second chance romance with sea dragons and an absolutely fascinating antagonist that's should be sending out danger signals right now. But anyway. And I'm wondering if my usual timeline of 6 to 9 months to finish a book was going to be enough. What if it takes 2 years instead? Which, fine, I don't want to let this go, but I don't have anything lined up for my readers on Substack. What happens to my publication? I don't have any pithy wisdom to share with you. I'm in the mire and the muck of not exactly imposter syndrome, or maybe it is exactly that. I mean, who am I to write this precious book, right? This is the book where I fell off the writing wagon, and I need to overcome that fear that it will trip me up again. I'm treading the line between imagined history and fantasy, and I need to find my way through. So, this book might be written in a way different than it has to the other ones I've written. And I'm going to be vlogging about that. And here we are. This is me vlogging about it. So I think I shared in the previous Riley Whispers that April is my month of research, and that is my compromise, to get myself back up to speed on research, how it's all going to fit together, that background, making it richly detailed in my head, because we all know my first draft will not be richly detailed. And then we'll take a look at the plot. Hopefully by that point I'll have figured out, and I'm close to that actually, close to figuring out exactly why these two didn't stay together. That's my plan. So the next vlog is going to be a little bit about the research, I think. And I might just share some of the books that I've been using to research, and yeah. And they'll come in little Riley Whispery snippets. This is possibly the longest one that we'll have for a while. Let me know if you like this style of podcasty. Have it on the background, see some pretty things while I talk to you. And I will see you next time. Please like this video to let me know that you want to see more. Comment below if any of this resonated with you. Let me know that I'm not alone in all these fears, and I will see you next time, hopefully. Take good care. Bye.